This is a tutorial for Gizmos, a engine builder from Phil Walker Harding. We are all inventors creating various Gizmos inventions, things that combine one with another, and trying to build the best combinations to get the most victory points. As you can see, all of these different cards have these little medals on the top right corner. Those are the victory points. And as soon as somebody builds either 4 of the level 3 gizmos or 16 total ones, the game ends, and whoever has the most victory points wins. So on your turn, you have the ability to do one of 4 things: file, pick, build, or research. The file option is to choose one of these gizmos. You can see there are level 1 gizmos, which are the cheapest, level 2, and then level 3, which are the most expensive. Gizmos, each gizmo has a cost to it. Down here at the bottom left, it's a number and then the color of resource that it requires. The resources are these marbles. In the physical game, they're marbles. They come out of this dispenser. You can see 6 of them, and then you can kind of see which one's coming next, though you can't take that one. It's still in the dispenser. So if I wanted to build this gizmo, I would need 1 red marble to build it. But for filing is simply taking one and reserving it and sticking it in your archive. And there may be a reason to do that. We'll talk about that in a second, but you stick it in your archive so that you can build it later on a different turn. Picking simply means picking out of the visible marbles in the dispenser. Here I could pick black, blue, red, any of these 6. Again, I cannot pick this one even though I can see it. Building, like it says, is building one of the gizmos by paying the cost in marbles. Currently I don't have any marbles. My marbles would all be stored here. I can have up to 5 in here. And then researching is pulling from the deck a specific number. My current number I would pull is 3. Looking, and then I can either file or build one of the gizmos that I'm looking at through that research action. Again, filing meaning save it for later, or build meaning build immediately with resources I have. Those are the basic actions, and by themselves they don't do that much. But the game starts to evolve as you create more gizmos, which allow those actions to do more. Unfortunately, most of these are kind of special types, but a lot of the gizmos have a symbol like this, one of those 4 symbols. So in this case, the build symbol. I don't know if there are any that have the research, but there's definitely ones that have file, pick, and build. So this one has that build at the top. That means when you build it, it goes under this build object, under this build action. You've already currently got a gizmo. Everybody starts out with this gizmo, and this is under the file action. And what that means is whenever you do that action, you can trigger any of the other actions that exist under that action. So in the file case, if I file something, then that lets me trigger this gizmo as well. And this gizmo says, when you file, draw. Draw means pulling a random marble from the dispenser, not one that you can see. So if I were to file something, not only would I get to take the card, put it in my archive to use later, I would also get a marble from it as well. So that's obviously better than just picking, because then picking I just get a marble and that's it. This one says when you build a black gizmo, here it says if you build a black gizmo, then you get to pick. And the X, whenever you see the X, that just means any color. So when you build this, you get to pick any from there. Now we'll see later, but let's say I have something in the pick action. Once I build the black and I pick, I pick a blue, and then I go under here and it says if you pick a blue, then you can draw from the dispenser, right? So you can do a big combo based on that. And you'll see that builds and builds and builds till towards the end of the game you're doing 7, 8 different things with one action, and that's the game. So let's start here. Oh, a couple other things, a couple other types of cards here, which is actually most of what we see here. So you have some limits, the 5, the 1, and the 3. So the 5 means you can have up to 5 resources at a time, no more. If you draw more, I don't remember if you have to discard or if you just can't draw anymore. Let me check that real quick. Okay, I confirmed that when this ring is full, meaning you've used up, and starting with 5, but you can upgrade that. When you have 5 in here, you just can't pick any more out of that. It's not something where you can exchange anything. The 1 means that's how many gizmos you can archive at one point, have in your archive. And then the 3 is how many cards you look at when you research. So when I decide to research, currently it would pick 3 cards, and I could choose one of those 3 to build or file. Now there are upgrade cards, like this upgrade card here, which increases all of those values. It gives me a 2 extra energy capacity, so now it would be 7. 1 extra archive limit, so I could archive 2 instead of just 1. And 2 extra research, so when I do a research it would show me 5 instead of 3. And you can stack those as much as you need to. The other type are these converters, which is what a lot of you see here. And these let you typically turn one color into another. So in this case, during my turn, if I want to build this red one here, and I have this converter, and all I have is a yellow resource, I can use that resource to change that yellow into a red so that I can build it. Each of these converters can only be used once per turn, though in some of the converters let you do it multiple times. Here you can do 2 different reds to different colors. And again, the X means any color. So in this one, I could convert 2 reds into 2 different colors if I wanted to. There are some converters that let you turn 1 yellow into 2 yellow marbles as well. So there's a few that work like that. The level 3 ones are all kind of special. I won't do look at too much with those, but if you hover over any of these gizmos, they will tell you what they do. For instance, this one, if you get it, discounts all level 2 gizmos by 1, which is great. But again, these are the most expensive, and as soon as somebody gets 4 of these, that triggers the end of the game. The real focus is these right hands, or these top right numbers. That's where you get your extra points. Alright, so you have 4 actions. You can also upgrade your limits, and you can have converters. I'm going to skip forward a bit to show kind of what a typical turn looks like, though I should say the very first turn, almost always you're going to file, right? Because you can't build anything, you don't have any resources. You don't want to pick, because all it does is give you a pick. When you file something, then it also gives you a draw, right? So let's say I would pick one of these last ones, and each of us is going to do this, right? They're going to pick this one here, they're going to file it, and then this one will highlight, and it says, hey, you can trigger this gizmo, which then gives them a random, in this case a yellow, right? And so in my case, I do the same thing. I say, yeah, I don't want a converter yet. I'm going to do this one where if I build blacks, then I get an extra pick. It says you can either build it, but I don't have any resources, or file it. I'll file it, and then these will highlight. Whenever you see one of these highlight, you definitely want to do it. I can't really think of a time when you wouldn't, but it's possible. But that means you can trigger these other gizmos in this kind of combo. And so I would click that one, and again, it's not going to let me do it here in the replay, but when I did that, it pulled something random. It gave me a red. That works great because now I can build this one, right? Because it needs a red energy next. All right, I'm going to skip ahead so you can kind of see what some of these bigger combos look like. Okay, this is a little later in the game. One thing I forgot really to mention was how do you actually do the actions in this interface? File, pick, build, research. You don't just click on them up here. That's what I thought at first. You actually do the actions within here. So if you want to file or build, you click on the item that you want to file or build, and then it'll give you the option, either build or file. If you want to pick, you simply click on the marble that you want to pick, and it'll let you do the pick. And if you want to research, you click on the level that you want to research. In this turn, I've got a few things going here, and I'm going to look for a black level 1 that I can build, right? So I built this here that whenever I build a level 1 black, it lets me pick something. And then I have the combo here is when I pick either a yellow or a blue, it lets me draw as well. So right, if I pick a black, or if I build a black, then I pick, let's say, this yellow, then this one triggers over here, yellow, and lets me draw. I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to research. I clicked on this one, research level 3. It shows me 3 of these. Oh, you know what? There's something else I forgot to. Didn't even do it in the game. You can choose one of these. You can also reorder these in the way they go back to the bottom of the deck. It's kind of a weird thing. It's really only effective like when you're digging for things in this pile. Like there's 14 here, and if you want to be really strategic and you see something that somebody could really want, if they researched in level 3, you could stick it at the very bottom of the deck so they can't find it when they do a research. It's kind of a later game strategy, but that's what these arrows are for. Really, you're looking for building or filing. And I wanted to build a black, so I found this black one here. It costs one black. I don't have any black, but I can convert my yellow to a black, right? So when I click on this one, it's not going to let me do it, but I'll show what it looks like. I click on this one. It says, okay, well, you don't have, I could file it if I wanted to, archive it here, or I could build it, but I need a black. Well, I don't have a black. Well, this one highlights here. If I click this, then it assumes. Sometimes you have to click which color you want turned into, but it obviously knows I want the black, so it turns the yellow into the black. Now I can build 1 out of 1 black, and it goes here. Now this one, anytime I build a red, I get this little thing, and this is a token that is a point at the end of the game. So anytime I get build a red, it gives me an extra point, which is nice, especially if I can start building those on top of each other. Now I built a black, right? So that triggers this one here. This highlights. I can trigger it. Then it can pick one of these. I picked the yellow one, which then I can trigger this one, which gives me another one, and now I'm at 5 out of 6, so I've got to start using these up. You can start to see the combo here. The real trick of this game is to find a specialty and focus in on it so that when you do a specific thing, it just gives you all sorts of other things, right? As you start to get into later in the game, you want to try to avoid turns where all you're doing is picking a single marble or just building a single gizmo. You want to do things that trigger other things. It's similar to Splendor in that idea, where if you are just doing a very basic action, you're not being as efficient as other players may be, and that might prevent you from getting the most points towards the end. Alright, I'm going to skip towards a very later turn to kind of show where my engine ended up and how I ended up winning this one. Alright, this is my last turn of the game. You can see that my main engine has been the building. Now, I've got all of these cards that when I build certain colors give me certain things. And my best ones are red or yellow. Mostly red, because if I build a red building, no matter what level, this one triggers, gives me a point. This one triggers, because this triggers if I build a red or a blue. This one triggers, giving me a pick. If I build a blue one, I get a point and 2 picks here. And then anytime I pick, if I pick a yellow, it would give me a draw here and a draw here. Or if I pick a blue or red, it would give me draws as well. So this combo is basic, like this building combo is what I've really focused on. And I'm using these converters to make sure that I can always build something red or blue if possible. So this ends up being my last turn. I decide, okay, I need, because I have 15 gizmos built, and as soon as somebody builds their 16th gizmo, then the game ends. Or if somebody builds their 4th level 3. Now this person has 2 and this person has 1. I didn't end up actually getting any of the level 5 gizmos. They are really good, but I just kept churning through this engine and using up my marbles. I didn't really save up enough to get one of these big ones, even though they are pretty helpful and they can be really high points. So that's definitely a strategy too, to go for these higher ones. But I kind of just was all about the level 2 and triggering these events to getting these extra points here. So what I did is I researched. I only had 2 red, and there's this 3 red here, so I couldn't really. I didn't want to gamble and search for a 2 red here because I only have yellow and blue conversions. So I went to level 1 and researched level 1. And so because of my upgrades, it gave me 6 or 7 to choose from. Didn't really matter which one I used because this was the very last one. So I ended up doing this one. It's the same point. I could have done either one of these red ones. I had the red already, so I built it. Now because I built the red, look at all of these that trigger. So I trigger that, get a point. Trigger the next one, get a point. Trigger this one, lets me pick. For fun, I'm going to pick the blue because that gets me 2 draws. Right? When I pick the blue, now I have this one and this one that I can trigger. Draw and draw. But I built my 16th, and this is the last round. You can see I'm twice as many points as the others because I really churned out and I really focused on getting these extra points through here and just building a lot and sped that up. So that's the game. That's how this, that's kind of the trick of this game, is building up those combos so that every time you do something, you're doing lots of other things that is kind of chain reactions that go through these combos. And so after somebody hits that, then everybody else gets one last turn, and then the end of the game happens. All right, hope this is helpful.